Welcome to ModPath Chat, the official podcast of modern pathology, featuring interviews with authors and experts on the latest science, technology, and developments in the field of pathology. Our host, Dr. George Netto, is the editor-in-chief of Modern Pathology and professor and chair of pathology and laboratory medicine at Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania. Here's Dr. Netto.
Hello, everyone. Today is a first. It's really a very special episode. I know I always say that every ModPath chat is going to be an amazing one, but I really believe this one you're going to like. So what we're doing over a year ago, actually, we some of the people you're going to meet in a second, we thought about how about doing an episode on meet the listeners and the contributors and try to get some feedback. And with that, finally, we were able, because, the logistic, we want it to be very geographically diversified. We have with us a couple of previous contributors from the US, Dr. Loghavi from Houston, from MD Anderson, and Dr. Mukhopadhyay from Cleveland. Sanjay is, both of them are very well known in the Twitter spheres, let's put it this way. And we have also some from one contributor from Europe, Dr. Olteanu, and one from actually Timisoara from Romania, right?
Exactly. Very good.
Very good. See, I know my geography, at least still remember. And Dr. Ansar Ahmad from Karachi, Pakistan. So you can imagine it was a little bit hard to get the time. Some are very early in the morning, some are evening, but I'm glad you're all here. So thank you all for accepting my invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So I think this is going to be purely conversational. We don't have to worry about any data, any material and methods. Let's just talk about why is it fun to listen to ModPath Chat. But before we do that, I would like us to go around the virtual table and just each one, if you can say like in a minute, a little bit about their background and what sparked their interest in listening to our podcast or any other podcast. So we'll start with Dr. Loghavi.
Thank you very much for having me. I just want to say a quick hello to the listeners. So I'm Sanam Loghavi. I'm a hematopathologist and a molecular pathologist at MD Anderson here in Houston, Texas. And I have to say, I wasn't really familiar with ModPath Chat before we did the first episode with you, Dr. Netto. I don't know if you remember or not, but Siba Al-Hussein and we had a paper on actually social media and hematopathology in modern pathology that you guys very graciously published. And so, we had the opportunity to speak with you, and I learned about ModPath Chat, and I started becoming a devoted listener. And the rest is history. And I can go on and on, and we'll discuss why I love ModPath Chat. But that's where it started for me, and where the interest sparked.
Thank you. And it's your paper was extremely important about education and social media role, and really was a great fit to one of the early podcasts. And I thank you for everything. How about Sanjay now?
Thank you, Dr. Netto, for having us here on this podcast. It's an honor. For me, the first opportunity was when, in my role as social media editor for Modern Pathology, I got to know that you are creating this series. And I have to say that even before this series was created, it had been my dream to actually do something like this. So the thing that you are doing, I had thought of for a long time. Wouldn't it be amazing to get people to talk about their articles? And of course, I never did it. So, but I'm so glad that you did it. I think it's a really brilliant idea. I really do. Really do.
Don't want to take credit away from you, Sanjay. You publicize them and you roll as social. You have a lot to do with the journal and the podcast. And who knows, maybe it's better if you start doing it and it'll be even more popular. So thank you for everything you do. Let's go next to Emilian.
Hi. Thank you very much for having me. I'm trying to get the smile off my face right now. Uh, it's stuck a little bit like this. I'm Olteanu Emilian from Timisoara, Romania. I'm a thoracic pathologist, and I'm a very, very, very firm believer in trying to get the message across, to get teaching across through social media. I started watching Sanjay's episodes with Matt Cincini about pulmonary pathology and postgraduates lectures on YouTube basically. And then I learned about modern pad chat. Awesome. You can listen to the articles basically, just listen to them or watch the interaction with you, Dr. Neto, and the authors. That was for me. It's perfect. For me, it's perfect because you get the information and you get what the authors wanted to say to their research, basically.
All right. Thank you. Zeeshan, how about you? A little background and why you like the episode.
So thank you for inviting me. It's really honor for me to be, the part of, this great discussions. And so my name is Zeeshan Ansar. I'm a hematopathologist and molecular pathologist in Al Khan Hospital, Karachi. And so being a low resource country, it's really important for and the very exciting for us to be learn from the modern pathology and kind of pathology which we can learn through this so virtually. And I started this thing since we had the COVID time, and that there was very limited things we can do manually or the in person. Then I started to learn through these webinars, especially the modern pathology. And I am very kind of the editor of Twitter. So I used to, read the Dr. Laghavi. I used to talk with her sometime. Dr. Sanjay, I love because I'm also doing the pulmonary pathology, especially the EGFR and the other things. And then I started since I had the US CAP award. So then I followed uh, the modern pathology and more past. So it's lovely to be here, and I will learn more you from you people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very sweet. I guess let's. I don't know if some of you have or don't. I know for me, all episodes are my favorites, but I was wondering, and anyone can jump and say, do they have a favorite episode? I think for our audience, this will be our number 85, I believe, and many of them. You can watch the person too, the speakers on YouTube, the channel of USCAP, which is great, has a lot of great resources, and we figure it's also a good place to put some episodes. But tell me if you had a chance or you remember what is, do you have a favorite or can you remember a favorite episode?
I can take a shot. Can I start?
Sure.
So I think my favorite by far, I think, is the episode with Dr. Daner, where he talks about pleuropulmonary blastoma and the history of the evolution of this concept. And I might be wrong, but I think there is a part in that podcast where he talks about how Dr. Rosai was involved in the early observations. And I just thought that it is such a gift to the rest of the pathology world to hear a legend like that talk about the earliest days of how those cases were picked out from the background cases, what they thought in the beginning that they were, what happened over the years, and then what had happened when the molecular aspect began to come in, and all the way to Dr. Ashley Hill's contribution. So I think something like that is very difficult to do in a journal article, and it's very easy to do in a podcast format. Have somebody just free flow talk in an informal way about the history of an evolution of. So I thought that was my favorite episode by far.
Very well said. And
I can also take
go
a
ahead.
shot. I think So one of my favorites, obviously, I think, apart from having a favorite, I don't want to single anything out. I think this is really an incredible resource. Particularly, you were just mentioning about resource limited settings, but I think even in the United States, in the most, resource plentiful settings, we are at the disadvantage of super subspecialized practices, right? So we're really far away from other subspecialties. And I think this really gives us a great avenue to keep up with the specialty of pathology in general, right? So I'm not going to claim that I can practice, pulmonary pathology or pathology by listening to that, but I think it at least lets me keep up to date, which is wonderful. But I particularly enjoyed the episode with Dr. Lamb with the mentorship and leadership. I think, some of these are really treasures, great resources. And for me, one of the really, tremendous things about just the concept of this podcast is, putting a voice or a name to the people behind the papers. It's so interesting to get to know the people, to know their personalities. We used to read these papers and never know who the person behind this phenomenal work was, right? But I think, we get to know them as a person, and it just gives you another perspective. And also, obviously, the backstory to some of the papers, how it started, how it was conceived. So for me, again, a phenomenal resource, but I particularly enjoyed the more personal kind of leadership, as Sanjay was saying, the personal stories that are shared on the podcast.
Thank you. Indeed, Laura Lamps, such a leader, and sharing her clues about leadership development and mentoring and all that were very enjoyable. Thank you, Sanam. Well, good. Anyone else have?
I can go now.
Yeah,
I think I have top three episodes actually.
Wow.
I really enjoyed Dr. Victor Reuter's episode with the digital transformation. For me, that was, whenever I go on ResearchGate, he always has 10 citations, 10 more citations that day. So it's like, wow. And he is really the pioneer here from my point of view. And the other two are with Sanjay and Matthew. The paper Sanjay with STAS with frozen sections, and the one from Matthew with QPAT with the tumor density. That was such a cool article, what you can do with just, an open source something and having residents. And Sanjay, of course, I always enjoy his articles. It's like a story, basically. So those two, maybe because it's like a friendship when you talk to them, and you can see the fun in the conversation. And it gets a little bit, it gets the article a little bit sparkle of amusement. And it's really important because it encourages young people to see the upside in science. It's not just staying in the lab and pipetting all day or something like that. So those top three, yeah, sure.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Dr. Ansar, anything you want to contribute? You don't have to.
So I don't remember the specific, the episode, but I love the one. I don't remember the person, but I love about the liquid biopsy, because I was very unfortunate really that we are not doing here anything. But since I read the article and then go back to attend or listen the recording of the more about this one, so then I realized that how this technique and the hard working behind this all revolutionary things which we learning and we are seeing as a essays doing for the services of the patient. So it's really wonderful.
Wonderful. So this is actually practically you answered a question that I was intending to. It's what is particularly interesting, one thing that you learned by listening and you were surprised about it. So very well put, Dr. Ansar. I wish we had time to answer every question that you suggested and I had in mind, but let's finish with with a very important input that I would like from you as leaders of the field, leaders of champions of our podcast and supportive of pathology in general throughout the world. We have not had a chance to do episodes with Dr. Olteanu or with you, Dr. Ansar, but this is the first. Hopefully, there'll be soon some articles coming from you, or we do just meet the expert. But I would like to see, get from you, if possible, and again, these any suggestions you have for me and for us in the academy in modify, any topics you would like to see on episodes. So far, we've done. This is the first time we do this flavor, and we'll hopefully keep doing it. But we've done Meet the Experts, as you mentioned, and of course articles based. And we've done recently live ones in USCAP during the USCAP meeting to highlight some offerings that are coming or to talk about a topic. What else you have in your mind that you would like to see, and something that will inform me and inform the production? And not surprisingly, Sanam has something. Go ahead.
I mean, like I said, you have an extensive reach, right? And I think podcasts are very attractive to trainees because they're short and sweet, right? They're summarized, they're short and sweet, and they typically, at least your podcast has great quality and it comes from the experts. And I think all of us at the end of the day, we're in the business of education, right? So we want to educate, and that's really what we want to do. So I was thinking perhaps you could do a board series for trainees and invite some of the experts in the different subspecialties, and each of them can have 3-4 minutes of high level, high impact, board material that the trainees should know. And this could be either in, a series of podcasts or in one consolidated podcast that the trainees can listen to. I think they will be very, very thankful to you for this.
My goodness, this will have a lot of following. You're right, because they're looking for these quick bites of learning.
Yeah,
will
I think
translate into passing the board. Well, who doesn't want to pass their board? Thank you. That's a great explanation.
I think I've applause to that. Very, very good, very good idea. I think if you get people, leaders of their not only leaders, but people that made it in pathology, just to give pros. This is what you need to do when you encounter that problem. This is what you need to do to write a good article. This is what you need to do to have a research idea. I mean, it's really important because the internet is full of information. But if you have somebody that can distill that information for you, that already went through that, I think people, especially young people, will really appreciate it.
Excellent idea. Thank you. Anyone else would like to contribute?
So I have 2 ideas, if I can go next.
Go ahead.
So one idea I have, I don't know how much this is doable, George. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. But one really cool format I enjoy, both in, actually modern pathology has done this before, is a pro-con debate. So one side argues the pro of something and the others argues the opposite. I love that because that really shows you that some things are not, they're not decided even in the minds of experts. And it's great to hear from both sides. And I think if you can invite both sides to the podcast
and keep them
keep them from not attacking each other.
It's easy online, they cannot jump on this.
They're fighting the screen.
So another sort of related kind of suggestion I have. So Emilian actually mentioned the thing that we do online with Matt Cecchini on YouTube. Yeah. So one thing we have tried there, I think it's a great idea, even though I say it myself, is that you can actually get multiple experts to look at a case. Oh. So you're showing a case, let's say, urothelial carcinoma of the bladder, but you get 4 experts together on a podcast or in a YouTube thing, and then have them talk about it and say, this is what I would do, this is what they would do. And you might see that they all agree on how to approach the case, or you might see that one or two of them say, no, that's not the way I do it. I look at this, or I do this stain. And I think if you were moderating that kind of discussion, it would be wonderful. It would be just a great, experience for everybody else.
Oh, that's fantastic. I would
very
love
good
to
idea.
listen to that.
Yeah. I would have popcorn basically.
Watch the fireworks and have popcorn.
Exactly.
Wow.
I think one final thought, maybe this is more of the, career development, along the lines of career development. But I think it would also be really interesting to see mentor-mentee pairs, right? Like successful mentor-mentee pairs on the podcast. And, them just telling their story of how their relationship developed, how it became successful. I think, that's something that would be of great interest to people, both mentors and mentees. The mentors can also learn from something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Very good idea.
These are all wonderful ideas. And guess what? Like everything else, sometimes your suggestions become a task. So maybe we start having some of you to be host on some episodes to implement these great ideas. The logistics have to be worked out, but I don't see why not. I would love for that to happen. Again, thank you all. I know some of you woke up too early and some of you still after work stayed and waited. So I really appreciate, and I appreciate your commitment to the journal and to the podcast. And this has been very enjoyable to me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was awesome.
Any opinions expressed in this podcast are the speaker's own and do not represent the views of Modern Pathology, Elsevier, the University of Pennsylvania, or USCAP. Your ModPath Chat host and scientific director is Dr. George Netto. The producers are Dr. Catherine Ketchum and Carly Hess. Technical direction is provided by Kaminsky Productions. Music by Mitch Neubauer. Thanks to the authors, reviewers, and editors of Modern Pathology for making this podcast possible.